welcome and thank you for joining me. My name is Marlene and I'm with the Room to Bloom. And I happen to be outside in my vehicle, obviously. It is very warm where I live. I know it's warmer in other parts of the country, certainly. But there is quite a breeze or quite a wind today. And I think that that is by a saving grace that on these really warm days there is at least that. But these winds often speak of winds of change, things that are coming up in your life to be cleared, if you will. Now, if you can imagine, there were leaves on the ground and strong winds come, it clears them away. Sure, other ones might blow in, right? If you were neighbors and you had a lawn next to someone, some of their stuff may blow in your direction. And so it comes with the idea of this is almost like a spiritual cleansing. So when you think about when things are blowing out of your life, if you will, awareness of what is also coming into your life. And is it something that you're just dealing with, or do you make an effort to clean it or do a spiritual cleaning, if you will, right? Looking at, is that serving me what has come into my experience, and do I just sit with it because it happened, or do I make an effort to clean it up, right? I just need to check on something. So, okay, so fourth time, I want to mention this because I happen to be pulled over in a parking lot and I have had a car circle me 3 times and now it's coming back again to sit and park by me. And so what's happening is this person is circling because people don't always want my messages to get out. But the thing is that the messages are coming through for a reason, and that is to help bring healing to the collective and healing to our earth, right? Um, so again, today happens to be the 4th of July. I just did um, a message about freedom, and it was a short, and what I was speaking on is who or what might you have to let go of to feel truly free. It is Independence Day in the United States, right? Now, just because I see that and just because I am aware of it, what used to bother me in the past, it doesn't really bother me, right? I just happen to be aware of it. I see it. And I could have called out this woman's license plate number and the vehicle that she was driving in the car and the description of her very easily, right? But I just let that be because there is, like, she's doing her thing and I'm doing mine, right? And so sometimes we will have things come into our awareness, like I was talking about this wind. Some things will kind of blow out of your life, if you will, and some things will come into your life. Now, I could have gotten huff and drove my car off, right? But no, I held my ground like in the eye of a storm. She may have had a tactic that said, well, let me see if I can scare her off from providing a message for the collective. But that is not, that does not work with me and what I'm doing here, right? So one of the other things that I wrote down the other day, and I found it really interesting because I wrote it down yesterday morning, and yesterday evening I happened to be watching The Chosen. And there was this beautiful part in there where I have goosebumps just as I'm about to speak on this. So each of Jesus' disciples were going to meet in this upper room to have the Last Supper. But because of I have goosebumps everywhere. Because of the intensity of the situation, they were all to take different paths to get there. And along each of their paths, they showed each one of them having a memory of something that they had experienced prior to, like what kind of led them to their situation in being with Jesus. And it was so moving, like each of their experiences, each of their memories, because even in the making of the show, they did not show those parts. So these were new parts that they showed, and it was just so beautiful. And one of the ones that it's almost, I can't remember if they kind of did it backwards in order, but it was who was going to arrive next, right? And then the last person to arrive was the first person that Jesus ran into when Jesus was a carpenter. And I'm so sorry. I feel like it was John. I think it was John. But I think that, Jesus was speaking these words about that he was here to build a new kingdom. And he went on to explain one where there wouldn't be suffering, one where there wouldn't be pain. And because he had just met him and they decided to have lunch together. And Jesus said, I'm not only, a tradesman or, a carpenter. He said, I am also a rabbi. And then he went on and he said, we're under the regime of, the Romans. And he said all these different things. And he said, yes, and I don't have a home and I move around and whatever. And he said, and this is a time for like for change. And he said, so I am ready to do this. Would you like to do this with me? And he said, well, what do you mean you don't have a home? And he said, how are you going to pay me? And Jesus explained to him that this wasn't for not the type of pay that he was earning being a mason. And anyway, as Jesus explained the story about a kingdom that, where people wouldn't be hurting, and in Jesus's mind, what they were showing is what was in his mind. And it was the story of each of his disciples, kind of what they went through. And as he described it to John, John was just like crying, right? And he said, I'm leaving. He said, well, go tomorrow. And anyway, and then they reverted back to the Last Supper, but it was so beautiful and so powerful. And so anyway, what I'm trying to get at is I had written these words down yesterday morning, and I watched that last night. And it's like the difference between a subscriber and a follower. Because when we take this word follower, Jesus would speak that often. Follow me, right? Follow me. And so many times in The Chosen, what they would do is always he walked ahead and others followed him as if like a mother duck, right? And the ducklings would follow the mother duck. And so just in a moment, what I just did before I started this is I Googled the difference between the two. And I wrote, and it says, so what is a subscriber and what is a follower? So a subscriber is someone who commits to receiving your content, often through a paid or exclusive service. So they subscribe. So think about like a magazine when someone pays for a subscription. They're willing to pay for it, okay? A follower is someone who chooses to see someone's public content. So what comes to me is when Jesus would go and speak in like the square of an area, and I feel like it was Jerusalem where he was speaking, but people would stand around and listen to him. And there would also be, you kind of get the idea. You could kind of see that people would speak about whatever, and then they would gather the people. And so what's also interesting, what's coming to me is this idea, I was thinking about this also, the idea of, I can't remember what movie I saw that in, but where speakers would get up and they would turn it would be a wooden crate, and it obviously held soap, right? And so what they would do is they would take an empty crate and flip it on its side, and they would stand on it so that they would be higher and have a platform. And so that platform was known as a soapbox, right? And so when you hear someone say, oh, get off of your soapbox, right? Meaning that they were either preaching or speaking over others or what have you. But it is interesting because Jesus did not use a soapbox ever to speak to people. But there were others who along the way would do that same thing. I just have to look again. So I have, that's a different person. Okay. Anyway, so Jesus did not use a soapbox, if you will. Yes, he stood on the stairs, though. He stood on the stairs and he spoke to those who would listen to him, which were considered followers. Now, they were followers because they saw him in a public context, if you will. But think about even when the Pharisees came and watched or listened to Jesus speak, it's almost like they couldn't deny how captivating the words that he was speaking were. Like there were a variety of the Pharisees who were simply captivated. That's the word I can use. Jesus did not try to sway people. He simply spoke truth and from his heart, right? And what he spoke made so much sense to so many people. But the Pharisees were stuck on the law of Moses and the rules of the time, that this couldn't be done and this couldn't be done. And Jesus was like, I'm here to heal. I'm here to help, to heal the sick, to all of this. And so let's set aside these other rules and let's do the work, right? So it was just really interesting. So Jesus' disciples were actually subscribers of him, because it says, who commits to receiving the content often through a paid or exclusive service? Well, they were subscribers of him because they did pay. They paid in a number of ways. They paid with, of course, their time and energy, but they paid with, like Simon, his wife stayed home. Their families, they stayed, they left their families. They paid in that way. They left everything that they knew to subscribe what Jesus was presenting to the world. They were both a follower and a subscriber. So that's interesting when you think about that, right? I don't know, I was just really drawn to speak on that, because earlier in the short, what I said is, who or what would you have to let go of to feel truly free, right? Being that it is Independence Day. And I was speaking on the fact that with it being Independence Day, over my life, many times, it was about getting to the lake and doing what many, many Americans do, and just kind of spending time together as family, and being outside, enjoying the lovely weather, right? Being by the lakes, whatever that was. But the shift takes place where it's like, there is more than this. Interesting, I have a truck going by with 3 big flags on it, or one really big flag and 2 smaller ones on each door. And this morning I spent a little bit more time just tapping into like the American flag, and when the United States formed July 4th in 1976. It actually happened 2 days prior, but it was signed off on the 4th. And there were 13 colonies that, claimed independence from Britain, because Britain was charging tax, and yet they had no say in what the rules were, right? And so that's why they got together to claim independence. So, this question comes up too, to ask yourself, where in your life do you feel or perceive that you may be being taxed, if you will, but you don't feel like you have any say in a matter? And so this calls one to say, is it time for independence or for a new collective? Now, with Christ consciousness, it talks about unity consciousness, like coming back to the whole of God and understanding that we live in the body of God and the light of Christ lives within us, right? So it's not about creating division, but it is about creating understanding. And sometimes collectives or groups will rise above for the betterment of the whole of all, right? To move past ways of oppression and suppression, to question things that have been done a certain way just because, right? And so it's, the word rebel, of course, comes to mind, right? Rebelling against what once was for changing for the betterment of all. So I'm going to use this Goddess Guidance Oracle cards just because I have them. And before I go any further, I did want to read something. This comes from the Daily Word magazine, the Unity magazine. And I have the word freedom here. It's dated May 15th, so that might mean something to you. It says, taking responsibility for my life leads me to freedom. Each life has its share of ups and downs. Like most people, I have felt blessed by my happy experiences and laid low by my more difficult ones. I have used the spiritual tools of forgiveness and gratitude to learn from and move beyond my more painful experiences. This kind of spiritual housekeeping, interesting, is my key to lasting freedom. I say interesting because when I was talking about the winds of change, and like if you cleared your lawn of leaves and more blow in, that would be like spiritual housekeeping, right? By releasing blame and regret over and over again if necessary, I am ensuring that I will not be bound by the past and limited by an outworn image of myself. Life is dynamic, and so am I. My growth is dependent upon my forward movement, and I commit to embracing the freedom that comes from leaving the past behind. With gratitude, I bless the person I was. With faith, I reach unencumbered for the person I am becoming. For you are called to freedom, brothers and sisters, and that is Galatians 5:13. Very powerful message with what was kind of coming through. Let's see. So anyway, let's get into this deck. Interesting. I just noticed it happens to have a crown on it. Goddess Guidance Oracle cards. What message do you have for the collective here today? We have Athena. It speaks about inner wisdom. We have a white owl on here, a gal who's wearing a green velvet dress. You know what to do. Trust your inner wisdom and take appropriate action without delay. Trusting your inner wisdom in a situation, right? Trust your inner wisdom in a situation. Okay, the next one we have is Irene, and it speaks about peace. There is no need to worry as everything is working out beautiful. Now, what's interesting, I noticed that the card came out upside down. So have you been feeling a lack of peace, right? This is saying, okay, if that's what you've been feeling, if we turn that around, which is like turning our thoughts around, right? There is no need to worry as everything is working out beautifully. It says focus on your joy. We have two dolphins jumping in the background. This woman holds a bag of groceries and a child, right? So that she is abundant. The child is happy and laughing. The dolphins, again, sorry, there's three dolphins. I didn't see this one here in the background. The dolphins remind us to stay in our joy, in our peace, to let go of, so we feel truly free, that which is making us feel encumbered in some form or manner. The next one is Isis, and it speaks about the past life. The situation involves a past life memory, okay? So there has been something maybe that has been causing you dis-ease or discord. You're being called to let go of it. It could just be from a past life memory that's coming up. Okay, what else do we have? We have Damara. It speaks about guiding children. You are good at helping, counseling, and healing children. Use your skills to help children now. So whatever you've learned on your journey to help children move through what's going on in the world today. Also, many gifted children are coming into our world right now. When people spoke about the indigo children, the rainbow children, the crystal children, and the golden children, right? So waves of children coming in and knowing things that their parents are going, how do they know this, right? Because they're born, they're also having past life memories, so they might know things that others do not know. They just have information coming to them, or information that they never forgot, right? Okay, the next one we have is Dana, High Priestess. You have divine knowledge that can help others through your spiritual teaching, right? And this is actually the person who is on the front of the deck. So what's coming to me is you are being seen as front and center, right? Front and center. Thank you so much for joining me. I have a call coming in, but I'm going to let that be. Anyway, so you have divine knowledge that can help others through your spiritual teachings. You're being seen as front and center. I'm not going to stop the video. Okay. Okay, one more. Maeve, cycles and rhythms. Honor the cycles of your body, your energy levels, and your emotions. Okay, so today it's beautiful out, right? And you know, what one person can say is beautiful, another person might say it's to this or to that. It's 2222 as I was saying that. So that speaks about healing, right? So what is comfortable for one person is not for another. So when we have a true honoring of what our energy level is, for 92 degrees for one person, that might be too warm. For another person, it's just right if they're in the water, right? But honoring your energy levels and your emotions. So when maybe for many years you went out to the lake or to the beach, but for whatever reason you're growing, you're shifting, you're ascending, so things are not the way that they used to be for you, and you might be feeling some sort of way about it. You might be feeling like what's going on with you, because you might feel that your joy is shifting, and that's just simply what it is. What used to bring your joy is shifting. What brings you joy may be coming in a different way now, right? So just honoring that. It's all right to feel differently about that. I also have a deck here called the Sacred Symbols Oracle. I've only used it a couple of times. I just happened to change the cards out that I have in my bag, and I just grabbed this deck. So let's see what comes up. I noticed that it is a red deck. The box is red. With the 4th of July, red speaks of our root chakra. It can also speak of our passions. Okay, so we have healer. You know, again, that's come through already a couple of times. So being a healer and helping others through whatever is going on. The number 32 adds up to 5. Again, something about changes. The next one we have is release. Okay, just what I was saying. That's what I said. What do you need to let go of in order to feel truly free? Who or what do you need to let go of in order to feel truly free? Okay, so this card is blue. So there's something about communication. You may need to speak about that. I'm wearing blue today. There's something you may need to communicate. Speak aloud, or write about, or have it expressed in some form or manner. Okay, The next one we have is fire. Okay, the energy of fire speaks about transformation, right? Passionate action, taking action in a situation. Okay, I really want to use the deck on this. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to go to the first one with the healer. To look at the numbers, 32 again. Okay. You are a healer. Fear not your own ability to be a light worker or a way shower for others. I find this so interesting because I was speaking about what is a subscriber and what is a follower, right? Drawing this card can also symbolize that a healing in its highest form is available to you now. If you have pulled this card in regard to a relationship or a situation, please know that there is a powerful exchange of energy here. Meditate when you are wanting to heal on the physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual plane. Okay? The next one again was release, and that number was 42. So let's take a peek at that quick. Without delay, cut the cords to any unhealthy or toxic people, places, energy, habits, and beliefs. This is a time to stand in your truth without cutting anyone down in the process. Meditate on this when you want to be the spiritual warrior with love, honor, and compassion. So you cut away what is no longer serving you. You cut the cords to unhealthy or toxic people, places, energy, or habits. So you cut the cord to the behaviors, right? Okay, the next one that we have is the fire card, number 27. Light, creativity, drive, purity, passion, and new opportunities. The element of fire can free you from boredom. It can clear karma and give you the energy required to take action. Be warned though, too much fire can also burn. So be mindful of utilizing this energy wisely by channeling it creatively. Meditate on this symbol with the assistance of a candle to inspire creativity, motivation, and passion. Okay, we're going to take two more from this and see what else comes up. We're going to wrap this reading up. Okay, we have shift, right? A shift is taking place. Yellow is about standing in your power. It is the sacral chakra. I'm going to take the second one here and then use the book. Okay, this speaks of death and transformation. I have to tell you, right then I had a vehicle drive by, and vehicles are driving really close to my car and circling around. I've had a number of them already doing that. But the last one that just went by, it had 4 clear handprints on the windshield as I was bringing this card up, okay? Death speaks of transformation. So those handprints can represent spirit, right? Okay, so let's touch on this transformation. The shift was the first one here. Miracles, divine intervention, and the end of stagnation and divine inspiration are here now. Drawing this card signifies an aha moment or sudden change in any situation that was stuck or blocked. Remember, sudden change, the winds of change. A welcome change or an answer that you have been seeking is here now. Meditate on the symbol when you are feeling stuck, unsure, or of which way to go, or having a block in creativity. Things are changing. Okay? All right, under the death card, which speaks of transformation of some sort taking place. A noticeable end of a cycle or a situation. Grieving or mourning a loss in order to heal. It is time to watch the old way leave itself in the past. Just like I said, the winds of change, right? Leave the old way in the past. Allow feelings of grief or sadness to move through you with ease. So this is saying stop running from them. Allow them to move through you. Feel the feelings, right? Meditate on this when you want to honor an ending, a loss, or a letting go in your life with grace. Without death, there is no life, or vice versa. So this is the idea that one door must close for a new one to open. This can be in all areas of your life. This can be from moving from one place to another, from a relationship ending, closing the door on one relationship for a new one to begin, right? This can be like a job, right? A job shift. So whatever's going on in our earthly experience, this can also be a way of life, the way that we used to live life. And now we're saying, I'm letting that old way go, right? I'm doing something different. This can look like family patterns. This can look like, traditions, right? Things that you've always done. And you've always done them because your family always did them and whatever. But for some reason, you're going through a spiritual awakening and you're seeing things from a higher perspective and starting to ask questions like, why have I always done that? Why did my family always do that? Why? And for whatever reason, I'm making shifts or changes to that. What I felt used to serve me or bring joy to me is different now, right? What I once subscribed to, I am no longer subscribing to, meaning I'm no longer paying for that type of service, if you will, or what I once followed, I'm no longer following, right? And so it just asks us to look at that. Okay, I want to say I have spoken recently on, I have a dragonfly coming in front of my car, and the very first one was a tiny little baby one, and when I looked up, it was like there was an adult one there. And I am not right by a lake. I'm in a parking lot, so very interesting that this is coming up like this. Recently I've had dragonflies coming into my awareness with the passing of someone in my life. So this coming up, healing of loss and such, is not, it is not a surprise, I guess, is what I would say. But again, this is not just about physical death. It is about the death of old ways. So, or the releasing of old ways. So I do not want to end this message on that card. Actually, what I'd like to do, kind of maybe what I will do, and this will probably, I wonder if it'll come up in this deck. This speaks of angel connections and the way that our angels connect with us to show you that they are around, right? So this is what I would like to do and to bring forth this message. So we've got these cards. The first one is angels can communicate with us strongly through dreams to tell us about our lives, our concerns, and gives us clues about what is to come. So pay attention and try to remember your dreams. Okay, interesting. Try to remember your dreams. If you have a dream journal, writing that stuff down. The next one, the dragonfly. I knew this would come up. It's 3333. I just knew this was going to come up. The dragonfly is a spirit messenger that captures your attention for a reason. He may be reminding you that transformation is possible and that you have support from the angelic realm. Transformation. Death is about transformation. Yesterday, I had made this deck of cards and I pulled 2 dragonflies. And then the fact that there was a baby dragonfly and a parent dragonfly, if you will, right here, that came through. A spirit messenger that captures your attention for a reason. Okay, the next one is 333. Just did another video speaking of this, that this number was in front, it was on a sign that I had pulled up to, and when I was speaking about it and I looked over at the sign was so lit up, it was like the sun was reflecting it almost like mirrored. It was like metal. I could not even read anything on it after I spoke on it. It says, connect with Jophiel, the archangel of beauty and wisdom. through the colors yellow and deep pink and the number 333, the element of fire. Okay, so we just had yellow and fire come up, and the gemstone citrine. She works through the flower essences such as dianthus. Sorry, so I'm going to hold that flower up. If I pronounced it improperly, that is it, right? So, really lovely message. So if you are seeing dragonflies, the number 333, and communication through our dreams, paying attention to what those are. I'm being guided to take at least one or two more. Start your adventure today. Okay, so here's a road sign, a sign that you have never noticed before. It grabs your attention. It may take a little while to decode the message, but your intuition tells you that it is important. Start your adventure today. So road signs, it's like you feel like they're speaking to you, and they are. This is the way that your guides and angels can speak with you, okay? One more. Okay, we have Uriel, the light of God. And it was just 3555 on the timer when I said that. Manifests his presence through inspiration and heightened intuition. He can be felt in the solar plexus chakra, which is represented by yellow, and seen in sparks of electric power, amber gemstones, and the colors red and gold, lotus blooms, and the sun. So again, I just had another car pull up. You guys, I have had so many cars pull up, drive really close to the front of my car. Now I'm in a parking lot where they have plenty of room to drive in their lane and behind me, but what they do is they come and they pull up very close to my vehicle and they're circling it, right? Okay, so again, Uriel, known as the light of God, manifests his presence through inspiration and heightened intuition. He can be felt in the solar plexus, that's like that gut instinct feeling, and seen in sparks of electric power, amber gemstones, and the colors red and gold, lotus blooms, and the sun. Okay, so I just wanted to repeat this because sparks of electric power. I spoke to someone today who had a situation with their electric, right? So again, another way that the light of God is coming through. Think of sparklers. It is the 4th of July. Okay, and then one more, and then that's it. Okay, the next one is, okay, appearing in your yard with this brilliant red plumage and his heavenly songs. The cardinal is a blessed sign that an angel is paying you a visit. Okay, so I just lost a loved one, and I was with someone a couple days ago. And one of the things that happened, as soon as we were leaving the place that we went, a red cardinal made its presence very known to us. Like it came out and flew. We couldn't miss it, right? And it was very moving. And here's another dragonfly. And we couldn't miss it. And I said to this person I was with, do you know what that means? And they said yes, that a loved one is visiting from heaven. And it was very moving because we both had lost someone very important to us, right? So very moving, very touching. I just want you to know you're not alone with it, whatever you're going through. There are winds of change here. Asking yourself, what have you been subscribing to? What have you been following? Maybe it isn't resonating with you anymore, and that's okay. It is okay for the shifts to take place in your life. We are on a journey. Again, remembering that we have the shifts of change, right? These cards, we had fire, following your passion, releasing what isn't following or working for you anymore. You are a healer, and you get to be a healer because you've done the healing work, right? There are cycles and rhythms taking place in your life. You're being seen as a high priestess, helping others through your spiritual teaching. It's okay to guide children, right? You're being seen to guide children. Things that once were no longer peaceful to you, it's just simply a shift in thought, There's no need to worry. You may have just been experiencing past life memories. Your inner wisdom guides you and tells you it's okay. You know what to do in this situation. So that is the message for today. Happy Independence Day. And whenever you get this message, you were meant to find it. Thanks again. Take care.